Joining us now is Republican Congressman Mike Turner of Ohio. Congressman, always nice to see you here in the Situation Room. So, look, I mean, Americans are nervous. Inflation remains volatile. The stock markets are down, and economists are warning of a possible recession or stagflation. That's been thrown around as well. No one really knows, right? Is President Trump taking a gamble with the U.S. economy right now?
Well, this is very important because what the president's doing is he's saying there are individuals, there are countries that have been taking advantage of our economy. We've been subsidizing their economy. And one way to protect our economy are tariffs. We're going to in fact, punish their activities, their manner in which they've taken advantage of our country. Mm-hmm. He's spoken of reciprocal tariffs, their tariffs against our country, our markets. We're going to then respond with tariffs. Also, there are national security concerns that we have for markets, for types of production, steel, aluminum, those productions that we need to protect. There are also issues where we want to have increased production in markets, where we look to industries such as automobiles, those types of productions. Areas in which we want to encourage production that have been disadvantaged as a result of some countries that have been dumping products, over subsidizing them. Perhaps there haven't been tariffs to our goods, but they have been shipping goods here at lower costs that they've been subsidizing. So he's going to look at ways in which we can level those playing fields, mm-hmm. and in fact that way we can stimulate production here, and also generate through tariffs revenue for our government and lower overall our deficits.
Right, but I think, when you talk to economists, they say that endeavor, what you just laid out, is really kind of a long-term thing. It doesn't just happen overnight, right? And what could happen in the more short term is, of course, prices going up. And you had President Trump, of course, one of his big promises was, I'm going to lower prices when you bring me into office. Are you concerned that Americans might punish your party in next year's midterm elections if that happens?
Well, the one thing you can't do is you can't just continue to subsidize these other economies. You have to bring about that change, and by doing so, then you stimulate economic production here. And that economic production is going to result in economic growth, and that's what he's doing. Is he's bringing about that economic
supply chain reorganization. I mean, that can take years to bring something back here.
It does, but it's a slow bleed here. I mean, we're losing, right? And the goal is economic gain, and you have to begin it. Every day that you don't make that change, you're losing, and you have to start that process of gaining.
But do you feel a little bit nervous right now about the midterms? I mean, given the fact that we just don't know, and given the risks that are inherent in this and trying to accomplish the goal that you laid out.
This is not an electoral game. This is an economy game, and that's what he's been doing. I think the fact that his team has been meeting, that they've been working really diligently and reviewing what other markets have been doing, what other countries have been doing, and ways in which it needs to be massaged. I think that the plan that they're going to be putting together, and also they've shown flexibility, the manner in which they put some in place and pulled them back. I think we're going to see a well thought out plan that is unveiled today, and it's going to really be focused on how do we have economic gain so that our markets grow.
All right, so you didn't want to answer my question, though, about the midterms, but we will talk about the elections that we did see, right? We saw what happened in Florida. Last night in Florida, Republicans swept 2 special House elections and red districts, no doubt, but they did certainly, the margin of victory was cut in half, I believe. And then you have Wisconsin, where the Democrat-backed candidate won. And I want to look at this graphic right here. The chair of the Wisconsin party posted this. The blue arrows show the entire state moving towards Democrat right here. That's despite Elon Musk and his affiliated groups donating some $20 million. Is this a warning sign for Republicans?
No, I think what you have here are two three, signs that are all status quo, right? Because in what you had in your description is you had Democrat seats that stayed Democrat and Republican seats that stayed Republican. I think the fact that those are all status, but they stayed status quo, and I think that means that right now we have status quo. I think the country is.
But are you saying you're not looking at the margins?
Well, they're midterm, which means turnout is always lower. They're a little bit off. People are not in cycle. People are busy, but if they really thought that there needed to be change, if there's something was disturbing to them, they would have turned out. I think these are status quo. I think people are watching, they're paying attention. Right now, I think they believe that everything is in the right hands, and they want to see what's going to be occurring.
But do you have concern as a Republican, again, looking ahead to the midterms, about Democrat enthusiasm and sort of the turnout and what that could portend for the future? Because we've seen it happen historically when Trump was in office in the past.
I don't know. I think Democrats right now are pretty disaffected. I mean, right now I think that they're all of the discussion is they don't even know what they stand for at this point. I mean, the march of Republicans of let's fix the economy, let's fix national security, let's make certain that that we fix government. I mean, they don't even know what their to-do list is. So they don't even have a unified message or agenda, and Republicans do, and we're going to work.
Right. All right. So I want to just move on. We were talking about Elon Musk and whether what we saw in Wisconsin was in response to him. Right. You sit on the Government Oversight and Reform Committee. You have layoffs in the federal government that have spiked. Most recently at HHS, there were, I believe, about 10,000 layoffs in addition to the probationary employees and so forth. The former FDA head said that included, quote, most of the leaders with institutional knowledge and a deep understanding of product development and safety no longer employed. Do you have any concerns about the brain drain in the federal government?
Well, I mean, certainly we have to be careful. But at the same time, we cannot continue to spend it the way that we are. These deficits are so extreme, and our government is putting our economy and the future of our government, the future for our children, at risk. We have to make changes. And certainly the number of people in government, because those positions represent spending, not just individually their salaries, but the function that they do, those functions spend, right? So you have to bring that curve in, you have to bring that curve down. Surely we have to look to the future to make certain that as we do so, that the functions of government are protected, but these changes have to be made for the future of our government.
But just to follow up on that, you talk about the spending that is happening and the cuts and so forth. I want to ask about Medicaid, because Republicans right now, have to find over $800 billion in cuts. Right. And you have the CBO, which is nonpartisan, saying, look, I mean, the only way to do that is by cutting Medicaid. What are you going to do that as a Republican? Where do you stand? Well,
the president has said no, and certainly
that's. Then where did the cuts come from?
The president said no, and I agree with him. I mean, certainly in my community, we are very dependent upon, and there are people whose lives are significantly impacted by that and by that spending, and this goes right to the health and the well-being of people in our country and in our communities.
So can you guarantee there will be no cuts in Medicaid?
The efficiencies is not an issue, is a different issue than whether or not people's benefits and their health benefits are reduced.
So I just want to follow up on that, because when you're saying efficiency, you're saying, okay, we're going to focus on waste, fraud, and abuse. But that's just a matter of opinion, right? I mean, how you view efficiency and where you're going to make those cuts.
There should be no cuts in health benefits to individuals. The president said so. Last time I voted against a plan that would have resulted. I think absolutely we have to make certain that the cost of benefits are the most efficient possibly, but people's benefits cannot be cut. The health care that is provided cannot be limited, and people's benefits have to be maintained.
All right, Congressman Mike Turner, thank you so much. We'll be right back.